He's here. Now. The master of the macabre. Now.
Did he say anything about the 5 students that are missing?
He's telling us the same story over and over again, and he's thoroughly convinced that he's telling us the truth.
Inspector Slack from the Sheriff's Department is here. He has some questions he'd like to ask you. He'd like to know what happened to you and your student.
Oh, yeah, I want to tell him. I want to tell everyone what's going on in that forest. Inspector, those stories, those horror stories you heard about in the forest, they're true. They're all true. There is a demon, a creature.
Don't be too quick to poke fun at something you know nothing about.
I agree. But if there's one thing I do know, there never was any Bigfoot walking around here or anywhere else. It's just another version of the Loch Ness Monster.
You're pretty sure of that, are you?
Mercy, O great God Almighty, save me. Thy faithful servant, cast it out of her. Burst her belly with fire. Lord, Lord, give me the strength to bear up under this horror that's squirming in her belly. Give me strength, merciful Father, to force my daughter of hell to drink the medicine that will kill the demon child inside her.
Hi, this is Laura Park Lincoln from Friday the 13th, Part 7, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
Okay, and welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, and this time we're going camping in the woods in Sasquatch County. Of course, it is Night of the Demon, and no, not the Jacques Tournier classic from the 1950s classic. We are going much more lowbrow, but perhaps more entertaining. It's we'll see, with the 1980 cock-ripping Bigfoot movie with young girls in peril. For our 9th birthday. So yeah, cue sound effect, which I haven't got a sound effect, so I've dropped one in, of everyone clapping. Actually, do I have a sound effect? I've got a, let me have a look, see what I've got. What can indicate a happy birthday? Well, I've got this. Now, that was crowd ambience, which actually just sounds like maybe people gathering with pitchforks to kill us. So that's probably not much of a...
Which is probably apt, yeah.
Probably apt, yes. Anyway, it is our 9th birthday, so 9 years of the same old shtick. So I'm not sure...
Tobias is brilliant, Susie is stupid.
Oh, dear, no.
Allendale, Joseph, what else have we got to offer?
How about the girl with the big hair?
Yeah, that was Argento's last great movie.
Yeah, that was.
Please send to Justin.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So, yes, 9 old
montage.
Click. Yep. So, I imagine, actually, when you join us in a year's time, it will be exactly the same. In fact, we might just play this for our 9th anniversary. But no, joking aside, thank you for all of the support and the love you've given us for our love of old slasher movies. So, yes, and what better... I think was it last year we did Psycho for the... No, that was for the top 100, wasn't it, I think, episode. But, of course, we always have to choose an important movie for a birthday choice. So, Nathan, this time you have gone back into the archives of the American Film Institute. And what have you found for us?
I found a wonderful film, Night of the Demon. I mean, it's very artistic, very highbrow, I would say. Very, complex.
Indeed. Yeah. So we will be looking forward to picking it apart and looking at the socio-economic impact of this movie and the important contribution it has made to society since its release in the early 1980s. So, but before we do that, we should talk about what we've been watching recently. So, Joseph, would you like to go first? What have you watched recently?
Well, I watched a film called Door in the Woods. It's quite a low-budget recent film about this couple who have a son, and they aren't doing very well financially. So to kind of make ends meet and to pay the young son's tuition to school, the dad takes a job at the school doing kind of like maintenance work and to kind of escape the humdrum existence that they found themselves in. They go out for a hike one day and they find this door in the woods, and it's chained down for some strange reason. And the lady likes the door so much because it's all antique looking, and so she persuades her husband to take it home. And then that's when it essentially turns into a very low budget poltergeist. Has a very weird character doing the whole Zelda Rubinstein. It's this actor who's who dresses like a pimp, and he's deaf, so he does a lot of sign language. And the actual actor is deaf, so it's kind of unusual. It's kind of an interesting casting choice. I like this film. It would have worked better as a short film. It caught my eye because one of the actors from The Shield was in it, and I thought, hey, it's good to see that guy again. But I watched it, and the premise is really good. But like I said, it just kind of goes on for a little too long. I thought it would have made just a better short film. It's essentially them bringing this door home, and then very poltergeisty stuff starts happening. Now I will say it has a very, 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 very stark kind of haunting ending, which really caught me by surprise. But overall, I don't really recommend it because it really doesn't go anywhere. Anything it really has to say, it could have been said in about 15 or 20 minutes. So, that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, well, I've not. I think I have heard of that one, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, it was made for $175,000, and it actually looks really good for that amount of money, and it's very well acted. It's just, I don't know, I think it overstays its welcome, honestly.
Okay, well, anyone else seen it? Erik?
No, never heard of it.
No? What about you, Nathan?
Same. I haven't heard of it till now.
No problem. Well, thank you, Joseph. Anything else?
Yes, I watched the second season of You, which was essentially it was a Lifetime show that got moved to Netflix, and now it's kind of like all the rage. And God, I love this show. It's like my favorite show on TV, right? Well, quote unquote TV. It's my favorite show streaming right now. I think what makes this show work so well is the central character of Joe Goldberg, played by Penn Badgley. He's just so like charismatic and like fun to watch, even though he's doing these really awful things and he's just stalking these poor women and insinuating himself into their lives. It's really just kind of fun watching the machinations of him doing this, and his victims, unaware of his intentions until towards the end of the season. The second season takes that kind of that Joe versus Peach aesthetic that was in the first season, and it turns it up to 11 here, and it also kind of veers off into some quite different territory. The last 3, I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but the last 3 episodes of season 2 essentially becomes this kind of giallo-esque murder mystery, and I really loved that. Of course, the plot twists are so soap opera-ish and ludicrous. You can't help but just cheer when they happen. And finally, the season ends in the last 10 seconds with a really subtle, or I wouldn't say subtle. It's more you should see it coming, but you don't. It's just a very good oh shit moment leading into what I hope will be season 3. Yeah, I mean, I'm like really enamored with this show. It's just so much fun to watch. It's very addictive. I highly recommend the second season of You, which I think surpassed the first season, honestly.
Cool. What about you guys? Nathan, have you seen it yet?
Watching it now. Actually just finished episode 7, so I've got 3 more to go. So I'm loving it.
Of season 2?
Just a lot of fun. Huh?
Of season 2?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I think it's a really fun show. Like Joe said, the main actor, he's just very charismatic. You just always want to know what he's going to do next. And sometimes I find myself rooting for him despite all he's done. And I guess that's the interesting part of that show.
It's a bit like Crazy Fat Ethel in that way. You always want to know what he's going to do next.
Well, I mean, hey, a guy tried to blackmail her for her dessert every night. Can you blame her for losing it?
Exactly. So, well, no spoilers here. Erik, how about you?
No, haven't ever seen a millisecond of it.
Okay. Well, I've finished season 2, and I really enjoyed it as well. It's kind of it was like twists and turns at every stage. Although I did kind of guess the main sort of twist. I kind of guessed, but I won't spoil it for season 2. But yeah, I think it's great fun TV, and I think it's what a sequel, when a sequel does something really well, and so much it plays off the strengths of the first film or series, but takes it in a different direction, but still satisfies what you enjoyed about the first one. So I think it's a thumbs up from me, definitely.
Yeah, it's basically just turns season 1 up to 11 and just runs with it. I love it. I can't wait for season 3.
Yes, so excellent. Anything else, Joseph?
I started watching The Haunting of Hill House. Now, I've only seen the first episode, and I had a friend recommend this to me, so I'll probably finish it. But my problem with this show is that everyone looks the same, and I'm having a really hard time remembering what happened because of that. I mean, you have like actors like Timothy Hutton and the guy who played Elliot in E.T., Henry Thomas or whatever his name is. That they kind of look the same, and they're playing the same character at different time periods. And the problem is like all the girl characters look like Timothy Hutton in a wig as well. So it's like everyone looks like Timothy Hutton, and I'm like, okay, who's who? So I'm having a hard time following it. But I hear it's actually really creepy, so I'm going to try to finish it. But it's off to a very auspicious start, if I'm honest.
I thought it was. It's definitely worth sticking with. I thought it was really good. I really like Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, I'm going to finish it, but I don't know. That first episode was kind of confusing.
Yeah, I wasn't that keen on Doctor Sleep, which is I'll sort of mention at some point. But I really like Mike Flanagan's other stuff, and of course, it's got the woman who is the main female lead in season 2, is in The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, yeah. I wolf you.
Indeed. So, okay, well, thank you, Joseph. Nathan, how about you?
I saw Midnight Kiss, which is the new Into the Dark Hulu movie. It's a gay slasher movie. All these gay friends like gather together at this house and end up getting killed by an unknown killer. I'm really torn on this movie because I really enjoyed half of it. I thought the pacing was an issue. I also thought the characters, I didn't find myself caring very much what happened to them, but some of the death scenes were really fun. And the killer's motive is right out of an 80s slasher. It's so absurd. It's just ludicrous that people are being murdered for this reason. And I mean, it's got like fun touches, because the opening death after this guy is killed in the shower, kind of a nice little play on the psycho shower scene, I guess, in a way. But yeah, a guy's killed in the shower, and as he's laying there dying, the killer starts throwing like New Year's Eve like confetti and stuff on him. So it's just, I'm like, why? Like, to whose benefit are you doing that? But it doesn't matter because it's fun. Ultimately, I'd probably give the movie a 5 out of 10. Like I said, it's definitely got its problems. And there were times that I was just thinking, come on, you need to pick up the pace here. Like throw in a few more kills or something. But ultimately, like, I was glad I watched it. It's no Hellbent, though. I think Hellbent was a better gay slasher movie. Just my opinion.
Cool. I've not come across that yet. So, anyone else come across it?
I've had some very bad luck with the Into the Dark series stuff on Hulu, so I'm in no rush to see it.
Well, School Spirit was fun.
It was okay, I guess. It was just kind of, I've already forgotten it, so.
I just remember it because, again, ludicrous motive.
Yes.
Erik, have you seen it?
No. If a film gets 5 out of 10 from Nathan, I probably won't go see it.
So the other movie I watched is called Villains. It's got Maika Monroe from The Guest, and God, the other movie escapes me now. It Follows. And it's about her and her boyfriend, who is played by the guy that plays It in the new It movies, Skarsgård. I can't remember his name either, but they Peter. Are Peter. Okay, we'll go with that.
Peter, I think it's Peter.
That was Bill.
Oh no, it's Bill. Or is it?
Yeah.
No, it's Alan.
Okay. Oh, I don't know.
Nigel. Steve, Nigel.
Tarquin.
They're a couple on the run after committing a armed robbery, and they end up at this house that's got this really weird couple and a little girl that's basically chained up in the basement. And it just ends up being a case of like they've come across criminals who are way worse than they are. It's a fun movie. It's got a lot of dark comedy moments in it. It's more like the situation lends itself to a few funny moments. Ultimately, I did kind of wish that there had been I don't know, more to the story. It ends up being very straightforward. And I was hoping that there would be more, I don't know, more to it, maybe some more outlandish parts of it, because I do love that in movies. But it's very straightforward. But it's got great acting performances, and it's got decent suspense at times. So, I mean, I would recommend it, but, I mean, I felt like it could have been better. It's called Villains.
Never heard of it.
It's new.
New. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. Anything else you'd like to tell us about?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Eric, how about you?
Okay, the only thing I watched really, what I would call Glass, but I think you'd call it Gloss, Justin. It's M. Night Shyamalan's latest sequel to Unbreakable and Split, and it's actually quite good. It's a comic book movie without really being a comic book movie. Nothing like Marvel or DC or anything like that. It takes the Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson characters from Unbreakable and merges them with this plot which involves James McAvoy's character from Split, and so it's not a high octane effects fest that you might expect when you hear the words superhero or comic book movie, but it's leisurely paced, which is quite good in my opinion. It's 2 hours long, but never feels like it's dragging at any stage. And the end, it has sort of a fight scene as such, but it has a number of twists in the tale, not as outlandish as M. Night Shyamalan usually goes, which is a bit disappointing, I suppose, because I love his ridiculous plot twists. He crams into the ends of lots of his movies, but I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's one I like. As with Split, I thought that was an enjoyable film, but not one I would watch again. And I would say the same about Gloss as well. So has anyone else seen that? Of Joseph, was that something that was on your radar at all?
I feel like I have seen it, but I've forgotten it. I enjoyed Split. I really enjoyed Unbreakable, but I feels like I watched this once and it just quickly left my memory. But I could be mistaken. Maybe I haven't seen it at all. I just don't know.
Well, the bulk of it takes place in a mental institution where 3 sort of superheroes are being analyzed.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it, so I think I have seen it, but it's just it wasn't for me. I liked the other 2 films, but this one just kind of kind of went over my head.
I'm guessing Nathan hasn't seen it.
No, I've seen Split, but I haven't seen Glass.
Same
again,
here.
it's not a horror film, so
The same here. I've seen Split, but I haven't seen Glass. So not yet. But I got a bit put off by the running time, and also the reviews weren't great for it. But I'll probably catch up at some point.
The other thing is a book that I got for Christmas. It's called Taking Shape, Developing Halloween from Script to Scream. It's by Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins, and it covers the entire Halloween franchise up until the 2018 reboot last year with Jamie Lee Curtis. And what it does, its sort of unique selling point, I suppose, is it focuses more on abandoned concepts for scripts for the films, or things that were shot, deleted scenes, things that were in the script but never shot, that type of stuff, alternate versions. That's kind of what it's focusing on, and it's really actually quite interesting. I'm halfway through now. I'm just getting towards the end of Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers, and it's really intriguing. Lots of interesting tidbits that I didn't know about some of the sequels. So I would recommend that. It's called Taking Shape.
Cool. Okay. Well, I shall look for that. That sounds like an interesting book. So thank you, Eric. Just a couple of things that I've seen. A film called Trespassers from last year. I think it was 2018, which I think it's got an AKA as Hell is Where the Home Is, which is, it has a kind of bit of a You're Next vibe. It kind of has 2 20-something couples who were both slightly dysfunctional. You probably can see where this is going. Go to rent a house in a remote house in the New Mexico desert, and you see at the beginning that the owners have been shot execution style by these masked bandits or these kind of villains of some kind. And they check into this place, and And then a mysterious neighbour, a woman turns up claiming to be a neighbour, played by Fariza Balk, who was, of course, in The Craft and lots of other movies, saying that she's a neighbour and she's just broken down outside and she needs to use the phone. And I won't spoil any more, apart from it turns into a bit of a home invasion movie, and it is very well done. It's got a nice sheen to it. It's quite suspenseful. It turns into a bit of a slasher movie at the end with like machetes in heads and lots of stabbings and lots of blood and violence. I think the main problem with it is, unfortunately, again, it's kind of suffers from the malaise of so many modern horror slasher movies that there's this idea that you want to see annoying people punished. So it jettisons the idea of actually interesting, well, not necessarily interesting, but relatable, fun characters that you kind of root for. So the warring couples are, just annoying, slightly annoying kind of modern yuppies. I kind of just take sniffing loads of drugs and drinking loads and arguing and bickering, and then it comes as a bit of a blessed relief when they start dying. Having said that, overall it's actually quite a taut, effective little thriller. So and Fariza Balk has a great kind of probably extended cameo role in it as this is she part of all of this, or is she not neighbour? So any of you guys seen it or heard of it?
No.
Joseph?
Never heard of it.
No. Well, it's one. I think it's just it just came out on. It came out just before Christmas on pay-per-view. So I just caught up with that. The other one I was going to mention, which is nothing to do with horror movies at all, but I just took a chance on this. I knew nothing about this case, but it was a documentary called Tabloid, which is a completely insane kind of documentary about this woman. I think her name was Joyce McKinney. And she was famous in the UK in the early 70s for kidnapping a Mormon missionary and tying him to a bed and using him as a sex slave in Devon in the early 70s. And she became this kind of tabloid sensation in the early 70s. And it's her story, or interview with her. And it just goes on. It gets more and more crazy that she escaped the country with her gimp, pretending to be deaf and dumb, and then comes back into the country dressed as an Indian tourist. And then she becomes the first woman to clone dogs. And then more recently, although it's not in the movie, she does a Jake Steinfeld by running over and killing somebody with a SUV. It's just absolutely crazy. So if you've got a taste for the kind of the weird and the wacky and the increasingly bizarre documentaries, then Tabloid from 2010 is definitely worth a look. So it's one of those.
I'm going to check that out. That sounds really interesting.
I did hear about it because I think it got a cinema release, didn't it, when it came out? It may well have done.
Yeah, she was kind
of got good reviews.
It is. It's just absolutely batshit crazy, and you kind of are thinking, is this real? And then when you look it up, it is all real. But whether or not she. It's just crazy. I won't spoil it because there's so much else, so many twists and turns, and it's just absolutely batshit crazy. So, definitely worth a look. And then because it was made in 2010, but if you look up her history after the thing, it just keeps, the twists and turns keep coming. So that's definitely worth a look. So I think that's all I've watched. So I think it's probably time to get our camping supplies and follow Professor Nathan. Get into that canoe and paddle upriver to Bigfoot country. So Nathan will come back in after this.
Those horror stories you heard about in the forest, they're true. They're all true.
Officials found a camera with this film in it, but no trace of the people.
We believe that there is a creature living in these mountains. Possibly a close relative to man.
We're already in Bigfoot territory, where all those people were killed. Not far from here, a motorcyclist was found. There was no trace of the thing that killed him. Bigfoot's not playing games anymore. Maybe next time he won't be happy just to scare us.
In shock and pain after being found in the forest with his face mutilated and most of the skin burned away, Professor Nugent insists that the American legend of the Bigfoot monster is true. A group from the university's anthropology class, including the young daughter of a dead fisherman, set out to uncover the mystery. The group are eventually trapped by the demon, only to die in the most gruesome bloodbath ever filmed. Okay, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but it is a great bloodbath. I mean, no doubt. Night of the Demon is amazing. To me, it falls in line with stuff like Pieces and Don't Go in the Woods and, just all those so bad they're good movies. I did think that there was a nice artistic touch in the beginning where the blood pools from the dead fisherman's bloody stump. It pools on the ground and into the Bigfoot footprint. I thought that was really well done. But Night of the Demon is just one of those where there's so many scenes to talk about. So I know that we're going to cover probably all of them. But the ones that I want to mention is obviously the van scene where, of course, the quote unquote young girl witnesses her boyfriend murdered outside the van. Yes.
Like a seagull.
Well, it's like at first they're having, sex, and she just keeps going ooh ah, and that's it. Like she just keeps doing that over and over again. And I'm like, lady, you're a porn actress. Come on now. I know you can do better than that. But the other scene, of course, the castration of the biker. And I love the part where he's walking back to his bike and he has his hands over his crotch, and you can tell that the guy is squeezing it to make more blood come out. I mean, it's so obvious that he's doing that, but it's great. I mean, I love the, of course, the massacre at the end is fantastic. And I love the Girl Scouts having to stab each other to death by Bigfoot. It's just, I don't know. It's such it's one of those movies where there is so much going on constantly. And like the poor Wanda, I feel so bad for Wanda in this movie because her dad is a nightmare. He is just awful. He's a horrible person who, to me, deserved to burn. Like he kind of got his just desserts there.
He got what he deserved.
Yes. Anyway, no, I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk about some of your favorite scenes, and I am going to start with Joseph.
Okay, well, I love Night of the Demon. Watching it this time for the show, I was actually struck by how the Bigfoot stuff is, hilarious as it is. It sort of plays second banana to some very bizarre characters. The most notable, of course, being Wanda's crazy religious zealot father. And can we just go ahead and say it now? I mean, this guy is the absolute worst. I mean, his daughter gets brutally raped by a Sasquatch, and we later learn that she was impregnated. And his response is to pray to whatever God he believes in, asking why he has been forsaken. Never mind the poor girl about to give birth to Littlefoot. What did he do to deserve this? I mean, he spends the remainder of his screen time pleading with the heavens to lift whatever curse has befallen him. And he's just such a selfish relative that, like Nathan said, you want to see him get burned alive. And when he's burned alive, it's just more pleading about himself. Like, what have I done to be burned alive? Don't burn me alive. Like Nathan said, let's face it, this movie is Pieces level bad, and it's never going to win admiration from anyone looking for anything else, but that's okay. I love the score to this film. It sort of sounds like a cheap, Casio keyboard became autonomous and got into a yelping match with a puppy.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I especially love the slow-mo attack at the end where everyone seems to be doing the Kung Fu Theater approach to evading the killer Bigfoot, which is to say he kills them one at a time slowly. So, it's basically them essentially vamping in the background to give the scene more urgency, but it becomes increasingly obvious that, like, you know, they have ample opportunity to escape this Bigfoot massacre. And I don't know, maybe I just misread this part of the story, but it seems like everyone kind of knows something weird is going on in these woods. I mean, there's all these stories of people dying or disappearing, what have you. And at the end of the film, which is bookended by, the film is bookended by this Professor Nugent character who's telling this flashback story of how he got, you know, maimed essentially by Bigfoot, and his friends and colleagues were killed by the Bigfoot. And so basically the film is bookended with this doctor and this psychiatrist and this cop kind of interrogating Professor Nugent. And I love that, his story is fairly well substantiated by, I don't know, that giant goddamn burn on his face. And yet their first inclination is to declare the guy criminally insane. I mean, it's just so stupid. And I could go on, but it's just one of the several reasons why I absolutely love Night of the Demon, which is an excellent 9th birthday choice, Nathan. So yeah, a thumbs way up for me for Night of the Demon.
Awesome. What about you, Justin?
Well, yes. I mean, Night of the Demon is in a class by itself, which is a good or bad thing. But as far as bad movies go, this is pretty top notch. I mean, I saw this. It got the added infamy for being one of the video nasties in the UK, which you find hilarious now to think that people sat aghast and shocked and trembling in fear and trying not to bring up their kind of crumpets watching the gore and the violence in this movie, because it is so ridiculously done. The opening scene with Professor Nugent trying to tell the people going, we got sort of with his bandages flapping is just is bad movie genius. It's almost like Ed Wood level thing with the non-actor doctors and the policemen standing around sort of trying not to look at the camera. It is fantastic. And the scene with the young girl in inverted commas who's like 40 if she's a day, with the bad wig in the back of the van. And I love that the director ends with that Hitchcockian flourish of zooming in on the eyeball to sort of try and bring back to mind Marion Crane's demise in Psycho. To my mind, it feels like it feels like a load of porno loops in a lot of ways, because I find it hilarious that Professor Nugent stops every 10 minutes to go, oh yes, and in these woods, a young couple of Girl Scouts stabbed each other to death in a game of hokey cokey. And all these students are supposed to have studied this Bigfoot phenomenon before they came on the thing. And you would think that he would have told them all these stories before they set out into Bigfoot country, but no. And as we'll find out from the slightly kind of bizarre background, it's not a massive surprise that this maybe looks like a porno loop in some instances. But yeah, I love the fact the ending is the slow-mo ending is actually, I think, relatively well done when you've got this Bigfoot who I think I might have said in my review, or I've said it before, and I know Erik won't like it, but it looks like a cross between Mick Jagger and Toyah, attacks in this kind of slow-mo thing, and they can do, like you say, they do everything apart from try and get out. It's kind of, I know it's shot in slow-mo, but it almost looks like they were doing this kind of amateur dramatics, sort of like, the thing where people pretend they're trees in the wind and then they're swaying from side to side. It just kind of looks a bit like that. Yeah, there's so many good bad bits in this. It kind of brings to mind Don't Go Into the Woods. It definitely has that kind of feel, that low budget early 80s charm that to a lot of people they would hate this movie. But I think if you're a fan of slash movies, and especially a fan of bad movies which are entertainingly bad and fun with it, then there's an awful lot to enjoy here. So yeah, it's a great pick for the number 9, the 9th birthday. Sorry, Nathan. Well done.
What about you, Erik?
Yeah, I really like it. And the comparison that sprung to mind was one that Justin just said. Don't Go in the Woods Alone is vibe I always get from Night of the Demon. I think this film has possibly bigger ambitions, if that's not saying too much. I like the fact that the group of students in this film they seem to spend a lot of time setting up camp outside people's houses. First Mr. Carlson, then Crazy Wanda, in a sort of, they're like protesters saying, we're not leaving till we get what we want. I also love that bit at the start where the professor is showing them the Super 8 footage of the two picnickers who are waving gormlessly at the camera, and then suddenly their jaws drop when they see something happening out of frame. And we get this, we see this sort of this glimpse of a furry torso passing the camera, and all the students go, ooh. I thought that was quite fun. The woman in the van, of course, with the enormous eyelashes. Now, does she just scream herself to death, or how does she die?
I don't think she dies. I think that she just went insane from her.
Okay.
It was
that
more
poor teenage girl. I feel so bad for her.
It was more than her young mind could handle.
Well, her middle-aged mind. Yeah. I love the sleeping bag death. I think it's even better than Jason, what he did in Friday 7. I think this one, because the Sasquatch picks up the sleeping bag and swings it around his head several times before launching it into a nearby tree, impaling the person inside on a branch. I also like the character who sort of very lightly tapped on the shoulder with an axe. And then in one wonderful bit of scenery chewing, he jerkily collapses to his death in installments, as if he's a robot. He's sort of like he's dancing the robot dance that Ross in Friends was so good at. And like in Don't Go in the Woods Alone, I love is the Night that the Demon just introduces characters out of nowhere. Although here they're all done in those flashbacks where Professor Nugent will stop every 10 minutes to tell a campfire story. And it's here as the site where a man had his winkle picked off by the Sasquatch when he went for a wee-wee. And it's here the Girl Scouts, were thrown together, and whatever happens to them, it's hard to tell. As you said, Bigfoot, when you do finally see him, I actually wrote down he looks like a slightly unkempt Mick Jagger. I didn't see any Toya in there at all.
Well, there's Ginger. It was that kind of, growing up the front wing. He's a bit ginger, yeah.
Is he? Are you sure? I think I'm just sticking with Mick Jagger, okay?
That's why he was attracted to Wanda, because she was a ginge.
Anyway, I do like that end sequence in the cabin where it's all slow-mo, and as you said, people are just sort of standing around waiting for their turn to be killed as the demon is whipping that guy's intestines around his head, kind of like Morrissey waving the gladioli around his head on top of the pops. Yes. That scene actually reminds me, it's like their equivalent of the raft scene from The Burning, but this predates that. So, but I like the way it sort of decides to kill off all the main characters in one fell swoop at the end, I'm wondering if the guy having his head stuck to the hot stove was inspired by Blood and Black Lace, which we've covered, I think, on the podcast.
Have we?
Twice. Yes.
I think we have.
We have. Yeah. So the film is packed with incident. I don't know. If I had a criticism, I would say maybe lose 10 minutes. I'm not 100% sure what the cult angle had to do with anything in the end, except it maybe adds a bit more intrigue. But no, like, this is one where if Arrow or 88 or Scream Factory gave it the treatment, I would definitely be buying it on the first day of release, because it's a film that needs a restoration. It's one of the few ones that's out there that doesn't really have the restoration it deserves, I think. So big thumbs up for me as well for Night of the Demon. Love it.
I love the scene where Professor Nugent, before they go out on their hike, he's showing them footage of, I guess it's kind of like found footage of the Bigfoot attacking this couple. Now, who was filming this couple? Was it the Bigfoot? Because it looks like the Bigfoot puts the camera down, then he kills him. So was the Bigfoot filming this?
Bigfoot family movies. I know.
Yeah.
I love, like Erik was talking about, he'll stop and be like, oh, this is the spot where, a guy's winkle was ripped off. Okay, now everybody get ready for bed.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm wondering is, like,
I'm not sleeping that night.
It's a lot of these people are like missing cases, and like, how does he know all this? I mean, it's like he knows every last little detail.
I know, and like you say, he didn't choose to tell them about any of this when they came out and putting them in mortal danger.
Yeah,
it's like they hear stomping in the woods. They hear stomping in the woods, and they hear. They're like, "What is that?" Oh, it's probably the Bigfoot, and this is where he killed so and so. Well, good night.
Yeah, it's like, get some sleep.
I do love the fact that they say when the boat goes missing that it was something large must have taken it like an elephant.
Elephant.
Well, elephants are native to that area of America.
Yeah, absolutely. So many of them.
They love to steal boats. That's their thing.
But isn't it a bit like the in Don't Go in the Woods? It's the most populated remote part of the wilderness you could ever go to. There's so many people.
It is. Every 5 feet, someone's out doing something before they get killed.
Yeah.
Nobody in a wheelchair, though.
Did you guys feel bad for the anthropology students?
No, because one of them, well, apart from the one who said I was a bit like Lulu Fishpaw in Polyester, who said, let's dance. And they said, we only brought you along to do the pots. Do you remember that bit when the blonde woman stood up and said, let's dance. And they said, look, no, you go and do the washing up. We only brought you along to do the
That's sexist.
That is sexist.
Well, what about the daughter? I mean, her dad was murdered and she went with them.
She doesn't seem hugely distraught.
No.
Well, no.
He's just trying to essentially tell us that these people had families.
Well, no, I mean, obviously her dad died. We saw it.
Yeah, he's the one who gets his arm ripped off at the start, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she goes with them, and then she dies too.
Terrible tragedy strikes twice in a family.
Very Tower of Evil with the two stories going on there.
Although, in all honesty, if I was her, I'd be like, okay, yeah, you all go. I wouldn't go. Not after my dad got his arm ripped off and his blood pulled into a big footprint.
I know, that's quite artistic as well. It was a bit like a craft project, wasn't it?
I thought the artism, is that a word?
Artism? The artistic style, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that this movie had like a little bit, surprisingly.
I like that the Bigfoot seems to enjoy toying with his victims. Like at that big massacre at the end, he doesn't just necessarily just start killing them. Like one woman tries to run outside the door and he's like, nope. He puts his hand on the door like, nope, you're not going anywhere. I thought that was funny.
I just love, like you guys were saying, like everybody just waits their turn to die at the end. I mean, while Bigfoot is like ripping into this guy's stomach and stuff, they all have ample opportunity to try to hit it with an axe or run or something, and they all just stand there.
It's not like he's like quickly killed somebody. He spends like an hour pulling his intestines out just so he can whip him to death with them. It's like they could have fucking ran to Pago by the time he was done.
I especially like the fact that Bigfoot decided to sit in a bush and waiting for somebody to come along and urinate in that bush.
Yeah.
It's very, very ice.
Oh, gosh.
And he doesn't, because he makes that kind of Bigfoot noise, doesn't he? But he never only does it after when he attacks. He's very quiet otherwise, very considerate.
It's another obvious thing about this film is it's obviously they shot a lot of this without sound, so they had to go back and do ADR, and it's always like, or It's the only sound effects they use in this film.
Oh, no.
No, see, Joe is right because the scene with the sleeping bag death where the guy gets killed and thrown onto that branch, he's on the ground and the guy's mouth is not really moving, but the sounds are like, and I'm like, it's not matching this scene at all.
They were sexy. That was sexy noises there, Nathan.
Was it?
Yeah.
Sexy.
Sexy.
I felt bad for the actor though, because he's hanging upside down and they keep pumping this blood, and like you could see this blood going up his nose, and that had to be annoying.
This was his big break.
Big break.
But
yes.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many poor, unfortunate people that were killed in this remote area. A lot of random people have died there, apparently.
I just think it's gross in the scene where the Sasquatch rips the guy's tackle off, as it were. I just think it's gross. This guy's he's smoking pot and he goes to take a piss and he doesn't put his stuff down. He holds it in his hand while he's peeing, and it's gross.
I can't believe we actually saw full frontal nudity.
I know, you can see it hanging out.
I know.
Yeah. He wasn't nude, he just had his dick hanging out.
Yeah, but still, that is nudity.
That's the rudest part of the body.
That is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, there's an interesting story about that scene.
Ooh, I can't wait to get to your stories, Justin.
I actually have a lot of background on this film, believe it or not. I dug and dug.
I've got a couple of things.
Well, should we get into background now and we can talk about the film as we go on? So who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
This was a video nasty in the UK. Are you guys shocked?
No, because we already mentioned that.
I did not know that.
It's already been mentioned, yes, twice.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to go with what I have written.
Okay.
The ending actually was refilmed, the massacre, because originally, like most of the students actually escaped, but the distributor was like, "No, I don't think that should happen. It's going to be more marketable if you have a big bloodbath." So they did the bloodbath, which that was to all our benefits, I would say. I hate it for their families that they died, but it was more entertaining than if they all escaped. Do you guys know what the connection is between Night of the Demon and the Hysteria Lives?
They're both a bit shit. Sorry. I'm only joking. I'm only joking.
What is it?
You know I like Night of the Demon.
Shade. A shade of it all.
Shade.
Justin was quoted on the Wikipedia page for Night of the Demon.
Oh.
How does that make you feel, Justin?
It's one of my proudest moments, although apart from the other 50 times Hysteria Lives has been quoted on Wikipedia, but this is probably my proudest moment.
Yes, I mean, it very well should be. I mean, who would have thunk it?
I know. What an accolade.
Yes. Also, one reason that I picked this for the birthday is because of the line where the sheriff says he didn't say anything about the 5 students that are missing. Did you guys know that originally when we started this show that we only put a couple of clips from the movie we covered, and then Justin had like other clips that were just always there, and that was one of them.
Ah, well caught.
If you go back and listen to our intros from the early episodes, you're going to hear that, and I'm like, that makes it quite a good birthday pick.
Absolutely.
I don't want to.
Hey,
perfect symmetry.
Y'all were great in the first 2 episodes.
Oh, have we lost? Hello? Have we lost Nathan?
No, I just said that y'all were great in the first 2 episodes.
Cut out again.
It has some issue with you saying the word episodes, I think.
Yeah. Cut out again.
Okay. I'm going to try this differently. Y'all were great during the first 2 podcasts, and then you got even better.
Thank you.
Okay. It broke up slightly, but we got the gist.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So, well, thank you. Is that everything, Nathan?
That's all I got.
Well, thank you. Well, Joseph, how about you?
Yeah, Justin, we were mentioning how we suspect this might be porn related. Now, originally, this was released to VHS in the States on by porn label VCX under their VCII label. Now, it's interesting because there's actually 2 different versions of this release. They both use rather boring stills from the film for their artwork, and it's just 2 different male faces and kind of like, I guess, terror poses. But yeah, like I was saying, that porn label VCX or VCII, they're the ones that released this. So maybe that would lend credence to your little theory, and I'm sure you got more background info on that. This was also released to VHS in the States via Gemstone Entertainment. Now, this one features a slightly better artwork. It's the silhouette of the Sasquatch holding a severed head. It's cheap, but it gets the job done. And I know you guys in the UK get this on the Ivor label, which I was doing some research, and apparently it's a subsidiary of Vipco. And I trying to go to their official website as of this recording yields a 403 forbidden error. So I couldn't really dig into them too much more. But I will just go on to say that also Lettuce Video put this out in the States on VHS. I'm not sure what year, and I'm not even sure what box that would be. Someone called Pyramid Movie Video put this out in Japan. And the Japanese title, I believe, translates to Night of the Bigfoot. One interesting thing, it says Megastar Films released this in 1983 theatrically. Now, I did some extreme digging, and I could not find anything about Megastar Films, a theatrical release at all. I saw a newspaper clipping. Someone had like a drive-in, kind of like 5 films playing at a drive-in or whatever you want to call it. And it was on a page where they were reviewing Night of the Demon. I was like, oh, this is it. This is going to be the proof I need to show it's showing theatrically, or it did run theatrically, but no. I got this off the IMDb saying that it was released theatrically in 1983, but, like I said, I couldn't find anything. The Sasquatch in particular was played by Shane Dixon. Now, he's a very famous stuntman. Now, it might be easier just to say, go to Google, go to the Internet Movie Database and look at his filmography, and you will see that he's probably in every movie ever made up until 1999 when he passed away. I mean, if you name a movie, chances are he was in it doing the stunt of some kind. One of the composers, Dennis McCarthy. Now, this is interesting because, let's face it, the score here is not great, but this guy also, like Shane Dixon, went on to have a very full career doing composing duties on a lot of stuff like Star Trek and some mainstream stuff. There's a website called Long Live the Void. Now, they had a fun little, they have where they make shots of liquor based on films, and they have one called the Wacky Wanda shot. It's 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of Hypnotic with a Q, and 2 ounces of White Claw. Now, I'm not a drinker, so the only one I recognize out of that is the gin, but they say to mix that, light a Mother Mary candle and say, "I'm saving your soul, you ungrateful bitch." Shoot the liquor, instantly regret it, but enjoy. And that seems to be all the background info I have on the film. So,
well, thank you, Joseph. What about you, Erik? Have you got anything for us?
Okay, yes, I have a few things here. Michael Cutt, who plays Professor Nugent, he was also in Sweet 16 around the same time. He had a small role in a 1989 thriller called Hider in the House with Gary Busey and Mimi Rogers, which sounds like it might be something that Joseph has seen. Yes,
I love it. I love that film.
I must check it out. It sounds good. He has a small role as well in Kiss the Girls in 1997. In an interview on a horror movie forum, I can't remember which one it was on the internet, I found that he was interviewed about this film, and he says that the actor who played Bigfoot, Shane Nixon, who you were just discussing there, Joseph, he says he was a bit of a crybaby. He was supposed to climb through the window of the cabin after breaking the glass during the climax of the movie, but he said, "My chest is so massive that I'll lose my balance and fall." So this is why Bigfoot just suddenly appears in the room. So we kind of see him about to climb in the window, but then we don't see him actually climbing through the window, apparently. But you say he's had such a great career as a stuntman. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what Michael Cutt says. So the film, as you said, didn't get a cinema release. Instead, it went to video uncut in the UK in the pre-cert era. This was in June of 1982 on, as you said, on the Ivor Film Service label, with a rather bland, low-key artwork on it. It was just a full moon with sort of clouds hovering across it. So it was. Yeah. It didn't really. Now, it did say, warning: this film contains scenes of extreme and explicit violence, but it didn't really exploit the film as to the best of its, as best as it could, I don't think. But it eventually ended up being banned and becoming a video nasty in October of 1983. The uncut version was submitted to the BBFC again in January of 1994 by Vibco this time, and 1 minute 41 seconds were cut from the movie. The bulk of the cuts were 34 seconds from the motorcycle cock scene, winkle scene, sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, and then 31 seconds from the showdown in the cabin at the end, and then there's a few other bits and pieces in between that were cut also. What else do I have? Yes, I saw an ad for this. Ivor Film Services had an ad saying pleasant dreams, 6 spine chillers from IFS, and it has 6 video cases on display, telling you what's available to rent at the moment, and we have covered 5 of them. They are Night of the Demon, Graduation Day, Bloody Birthday, Dead Kids, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Blood Song, which I think is the one we haven't covered. That's the one with the musician in it. Who's it? Frankie Avalon? No,
Frankie Avalon. Yeah,
Frankie Avalon.
Yeah, we haven't covered that one yet, have we?
No.
Is that the one with Tiny Tim as well, or am I thinking of a different movie?
Blood Song is the flute thing.
Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest, you're thinking of.
Blood Harvest is the one. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that, I think, is all I have, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. What I've got is the film. It was actually based on a 1977 script called Revenge of Bigfoot, and of course, Sasquatch exploitation or Bigfoot exploitation was was ripe in the 70s. It was quite similar to another film from 1974 called Shriek of the Mutilated. It's kind of similar setup, but there were lots of Bigfoot movies, Legend of Boggy Creek, I think 1 and 2. Lots of these movies around at the time. The film was I found some evidence that the film was actually shot in 1979 in and around San Diego in California. I I've got a feeling probably that the James C. Wasson was a pseudonym, and because it was a one deal directing job for him. Nothing, didn't do anything else. Found no other details for him, so I think it's probably a pseudonym. The reason for that is I think it is essentially it's actually the power behind this, if you can call it as such, is that the writer producer was a man called Jim L. Ball, also went by the name of Buddy Ball. Now, he had an incredibly interesting sort of background. Before I come on to him, just to mention that I too was looking for sort of details of the release, because I came across some of the drive-in adverts from 1980 and 81, which had Night of the Demon. So I digged around, and what it turned out was actually it was a re-release, because prior to VCRs and the video age, and even into those, many films were released under new titles to kind of fool people and to go and see them. And it was actually an early 70s film called Touch of Satan. It was retitled as A Night of the Demon. So that was what was out in the early 80s. The film was shot on 16mm and blown up to 35mm. It was Splatter Times. I found an article from 1984 which mentioned that it was shot in 1979. The film kind of distinguished itself in some ways. It's actually a bit like Graduation Day. I think it was Jill Rockrow who did the special effects. It's one of the few splatter slasher movies that had a woman doing special effects. A woman name in this was Susan Brott. Now, as I said, the main brains, as it were, behind this was this guy called Jim L. Ball, and I was looking for details on him, and again I couldn't find much. And then I kind of stumbled across this archive from University of Southern California, and I had this kind of sneaking suspicion that like The Prey and other films, that in the early 80s you had like porno filmmakers who could see making a quick buck from making horror movies, and it felt to me that much of this felt a bit like a porno film, and certainly some of the acting and certainly the scene with the young girl in the van certainly looked like a seasoned hardcore performer. Although I never found her name, but
I did.
Did you? Who was she?
I can't remember now, but she had quite a career in porn.
She did. Okay, that's what I thought. So now I stumbled across the details because this guy has a really interesting. He wrote this article about himself on the One National Gay and Lesbian Archives of the University of Southern California libraries. Now, I was mentioning about the biker having his cock ripped off. Now, interestingly, Buddy Ball was one of the founder. Well, he's one of the members of the SATA Motorcycle Club, which was the gay leather motorcycle club in California, and there are many different chapters that inspired by the Marlon Brando Wild One film in the 50s, and it went right through the 50s to the 70s. So that was a kind of nod to the motorcycle gang he was part of, which was these kind of gay Hells Angels, more or less, who would go out on the road and just have fun driving around the leather and basically having sex. So I think that the cock ripping was definitely a nod to that, and perhaps one of the poor guy had his cock ripped off was in fact one of the SATA gang, perhaps. But the abstract of this article he wrote about himself, and I read it in its entirety just because it's quite short, but he says Buddy Ball produced films, records and videos from 1977 to 1997 for a variety of audiences, including African-American churches and other Christian groups, crafters, gay men and horror fans. The collections include corporate records, personal papers and photographs documenting his varied activities from his early career as an educator to his involvement in motorcycle clubs and his inclusion in the Banned in Britain Video Nasties list. So he went on to apparently he was in I Was a Teenage Werewolf in 1957. He put out a band record of drag stars singing in 1962, a record called No Camping, which was recorded in the drag club, the Black Cat Cafe in San Francisco, the year before it was closed. He wrote the script for Revenge of Bigfoot in 1977. But he went on to make some gay porn. There's one called Rodeo, which I couldn't find a description of, but I imagine lots of men being ridden in that. But his biggest hit, as it were, was apparently he made or was behind porn made for men who like foreskins, and he made a film called Uncut. The Club of Los Angeles, Foreskin the movie. So I couldn't find a plot for that, but I imagine you probably get the gist of it. He then went on to he basically he's got the same name, and he said he's not to be confused with the person of the same name who was in bizarrely 1981's Night of Horror. And also The Curse of the Screaming Dead, a.k.a. Curse of the Cannibal Confederate. So he said he definitely wasn't in those movies, so perhaps he was, I don't know. And the last thing I could find was that he appeared in drag as the beautiful Sister Simple, the Chinese firecracker, on a flyer parodying the 1993 film Jurassic Park for something called King Kong Park, the musical. So there you go. So quite the history for Night of the Demon.
And next week we'll be discussing Foreskin the movie.
Indeed. That'd be something of a stretch for us, I imagine.
Ooh. Is that a pun?
Oh dear. Oh dear. So, okay.
Was that deliberate?
Yeah, well, of course it was.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think I am, a professional, Eric? So... well, that was. I was surprised actually. I didn't think we'd find anything on that movie really, because it was quite difficult to actually find, any details on it, and then it all came tumbling out. So
this is a movie that I really needs a proper Blu-ray release, like badly. I mean, it's just languishing in obscurity out there.
Absolutely, and if anyone's listening, we will do a commentary.
Yes.
So, but Buddy Ball is 84 years old, and I did find a video.
Now, is he the one? He's the one in the wheelchair in the video, right?
Well, I think I didn't realise that. I thought, because I found this video of somebody being in a baseball game, being wheeled from base to base, being a short clip of being rushed across in his wheelchair, but I didn't. I thought it was him, but it could have been him because he's 84 years old now. But apparently, Buddy Ball is something. It means something completely different. It's a kind of, I think it's a kind of a sports event where you help people. So you help disabled people.
I see what they're going.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was him in the wheelchair or not, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joseph, what did our dear listeners think of Night of the Demon?
Well, the numbers were very high for this episode. Out of 154 people polled in our 7-day audience approval poll, 96% approve of Night of the Demon, and only 4% deserve a penis ripping. 96% of people approve of this film. They like it. So you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can get in on the action, as it were. Let's see. Our listener of the week is Mitch King, and he says, death by orgasm, flinging entrails, and penis pulling all in one Bigfoot slasher film. What else could you ask for? And what else could you ask for indeed, Mitch King? You are our listener of the week because of your generous question you shot our way.
Thank you, Mitch.
And now a word from our friends.
Devil Times 5 is the fast-paced podcast in which 3 comedians and 2 horror experts dissect a different theme, franchise or subgenre each month before playing around with horror's hardest quiz. Scary noises. So, for hot takes and piss takes, listen to Devil Times 5, the British horror podcast that knows how to have fun.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Maddie.
Do you like horror movies?
I sure do.
Well, did you know that most horror movies are inspired by real-life horror?
Really? Like what?
Well, take The Shining, for instance. That's based on Stephen King's real-life addictions, or The Purge, which could be our country any minute now.
Oh, and The Strangers, which is based on a real-life murder. People should be talking about these things.
Hey, guys.
Oh, Oh, hey, Producer Michael.
Hi.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but somebody already is. It's you. That's right. We are Friday the 13th, the podcast where we talk about horror in real life and horror in media, all from an LGBTQ perspective.
Because we gay, y'all.
We are proud members of the Legion Podcast Network, and we can be found on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever your favorite podcasts are found.
And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Come along with us on this crazy journey, and as always,
get slayed.
So, let's hope it's a big one. Erik?
Yep.
It's my joke of the week. It's so great and fantastic.
Okay, so just to preface this with, or preface this with saying that I'm not sure if the punchline will mean anything to the guys in the States, but I know Justin, you're going to get a chuckle out of this one. What are the Bigfoot?
Sorry.
Yeah, what are the Bigfoot in Night of the Demons' favorite type of shoes? Winkle pickers.
Looks like we got some Miracle Mile bleed through.
You did get the joke, though, didn't you, Joseph and Nathan? No? Do you have winkle shoes?
I've never heard of those.
I got the joke, but I still don't know what winkle pickers are.
They're just a type of shoe that are kind of pointy. And because the demon picks that guy's winkle off in Night of the Demon. See, the joke is sophisticated when you think about it.
Very sophisticated.
Very sophisticated.
The film is 90 minutes of Erik standing in front of a brick wall. It cost $80 million.
No, that was a good one. That was a good one.
How do you sleep at night?
But I just thought that was, that was the sound effects from the, if you want to hear Eric's joke of the week from Miracle Mile, you just have to become a Patreon supporter. But yes, and thank you, Erik. You've outdone yourself or something, or done us in, something, one or the other.
He's done something, all right.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, right. Well, we do have some feedback. Who would like to go first?
I will go. This is from our friend Simon Logan. And he says, happy birthday to the Hysteria Continues and to each of Justin, Joseph, Erik, and Nathan. Unlike you guys, and probably most of your listeners, although I have been a long-time fan of horror, I only got into slasher movies specifically within the last few years, after discovering the delights of Chopping Mall, then coming across your podcast episode reviewing that one. I immediately became addicted to both slashers and your show, and 6 years down the line, here we are, with the show going strong and my love for slasher movies even greater than it was before. I've spent those intervening years catching up or rewatching as many as possible, but still have many more to cover. Despite a hectic work and family life, I've been working hard on a project which I hope will enable me to give back to the slasher community in the near future. Anyway, now that that's the fluffy shit out of the way, I did have one small request. I've noticed that in comparison to most other movie podcasts, in shows which can run up to and over 2 hours, you often only spend around 20 minutes or so actually discussing the feature movie. I do love your preamble catching up on recently seen as well as the general chat, but sometimes I feel that I want you to go deeper with a scene-by-scene breakdown / progression. I paused there because it sounded rude. No? I feel like I want you to go deeper.
Yeah, I got it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, you're such an unresponsive audience this morning. So he wants us to go deeper with a scene-by-scene breakdown / progression. I realize that this approach might be design, however, and that having 4 people all talking about an entire movie rather than just giving a few thoughts here and there might massively bloat the show, or perhaps it's to avoid tripping over potential Blu-ray commentaries. I did, however, wonder if it might be an idea for a Patreon set of episodes where each of you pick a movie to discuss more in depth. I'm not sure if it would even be practical to run the movie in sync whilst you discuss live on Skype, though I know Skype might not cooperate fully. Yeah, so we use Discord these days. Anyway, it's just an idea, and I guess it all comes down to loving the podcast so much that I just want even more than I'm already getting. So thanks again for a great journey so far. You guys make a great team, and you make the show what it is. Here's to 2020 and onwards. your friend, Simon Logan.
Thank you, Simon
So
Logan.
what do we think about deep dives into a movie, discussing it scene by scene?
No, I think just the mini reviews are fine the way it is because, like he said, I think he answered his own question. I think the show would get too bloated.
It would become like a commentary track, kind of, yeah.
I think us doing the commentaries are our way of actually getting to kind of deep dive into films, whereas the show's kind of more of us just hanging out, as it were.
Yeah, I think there's some of the ones we might consider doing that a bit more in the future, but I think it kind of, I think, say, with some films we have less to say about than others, and I think...
obviously, like Night of the Demon.
Well, I think we delved deep.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean, though. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, sometimes there's just not a lot of info on these films.
Of course. So, but we will take it under advisement, Simon Logan. So
no, but I know what he means. There are podcasts out there that the main person speaking will go through the plot, sort of scene by scene, and the other people will chime in with their thoughts. So I've heard those type of podcasts before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take it under advisement, but I think this works for us, and I think. I don't know.
I think we found our groove, as it were, and we're in a happy little rut, and we don't want to hoist ourselves out of it.
Exactly. But okay, well, thank you, Simon Logan, and I have a bit of feedback here. It says, "Hey guys, I want to chime in. So after literally listening to every episode you've ever released, you poor thing, including the Patreon episodes, I figured out what professional wrestlers each of you are, and by that I mean personalities. So here we go. Easily the heel of the group is Joseph. I typically disagree with most of the movies he dislikes, as well as likes. Most recently, Black Christmas 2006, and sniffling his nose an American Wealth in London tone. Wrong on both counts there. And Joseph's snarky and sometimes mean-spirited humour totally makes him fall into a heel category. Well, I don't know much about wrestling, but I shall carry on. Erik is next. Next is Erik. Erik would be the wrestler that can cut a good promo. He doesn't typically hold any championship belts, maybe Intercontinental if he's lucky, but that doesn't matter. He's got mic skills, including so bad they're good jokes, which makes him instantly likable with fans. He's also good at sly comebacks to Joseph's hellish taunts and Justin's mostly more good-natured taunts. Nathan...
Hang on, I think Joseph's taunts are more good-natured than yours. Yours are really cutting.
Oh, do you think? Well, let's see.
Yes.
Nathan would unfortunately be the jobber. Easygoing, people generally like him, but easygoing nature doesn't pay the bills in wrestling. He likes most everything and typically doesn't speak poorly about movies, but he can be a little bit vanilla. So jobber status for you, Nathan. So
what does it vanilla mean? Like
it's
plain.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Kind of the plain Jane.
Plain Jane.
But I could roll with that.
It's like vanilla.
But then you take out.
It's kind of like they say vanilla sex is when it's just like missionary, but it's more like if you sometimes you take off your glasses and put on a strap on.
So that's what vanilla sex is.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
How did we get here? Oh my God!
I don't know. But that
it was all
escalated
from
quickly.
vanilla. It was all from vanilla.
Yeah. Okay. And for me, it says Justin would be the belt holder. 90% I agree with his reviews and how he presents them. He's witty and has enough charisma to hold the championship belt. Oh, how lovely. Don't get too cocky, though. There's always some other movie podcaster out there looking to steal the title of Best Horror Podcast away from you. So keep working on those review skills and taking those steroids, which in this case would be booze. Well, actually, I'm doing Dry January shock horror, so I am.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Joseph.
I am.
Justin.
I'm doing Dry January. I haven't had not a stiff one has passed my lips in the last 5 days.
Of course,
So I haven't finished yet. Erik, I have not finished, please.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Keep up the good work in the squared circle. That's a wrestling ring for those of you not down with wrestling lingo. Eugene Weaver. So thank you, Eugene. I think do we agree with our wrestling terms?
Well, I haven't watched any wrestling since I was like 3. So I had to look up some of these terms. Now, apparently I would be the antagonist of the show, which I guess is okay. I'm the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't follow wrestling either.
Interesting. Like I said, I have no idea what any of this means, but apparently I'm the bad guy. But I guess that's okay. I'll be the bad guy.
I'm okay with being the guy that likes everything.
The jobber.
Yeah. Although I don't understand why it's jobber. Like what I mean, like in wrestling, like why would it be jobber? You know, where did that come from?
I don't know.
Well,
you're asking the wrong person, Nathan.
Yeah, I know. Eugene, write us back where that word originated from, like why it's called that.
Well, I think both
Make sure you do your homework
what,
in school before you do that, though. You don't really want to upset your parents.
Me and Erik know what. Do you reckon it's anything to do with a jobby, Erik?
Could be.
What's a job?
Remember, Mr. Burns was going to get some food from the food jobber for Smithers when he lived with him. Maybe it's that. I don't know. I don't know what jobber means.
Well, the thing is, the last time I watched wrestling was in the 1970s with Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks. So that's a long time ago. Well, do we have anything else left to say?
I don't know. What are we covering next time, Justin?
Well, I have a bit of a conundrum. Not conundrum exactly, but I have 3 choices that I'm potentially up against. So I don't know whether or not to go Italian or early 80s horror slasher. Well, slasher. And I've got a conundrum, but I think I am going to go early 80s slasher or kind of slasher. And it's a film we've already mentioned on the podcast. And I think it is. I think we need to see Frankie Avalon chasing Donna Wilkes in a forklift truck. So it has to be 1982's Blood Song. Will be the next film we cover.
Interesting.
Have any of you seen it?
I have.
Yes.
You have? Okay.
Is that the one with Tiny Tim?
No.
It was Argento's last great movie.
It's going to be, that one's going to run, I can imagine, through. So I nearly went for the other ones I was going to go for, potentially, but another point is Murder Rock, because I haven't seen that for a long time. Lucio Fulci movie. Or American Nightmare, the early 80s Canadian, strangely Canadian movie. But I'm going to keep those for another day, so we're going to go for 1982's Blood Song. So lots of flute music for that one, I think. Right, well, thank you for listening. And what were you playing out with?
I'll randomly think of something at the very last second.
Right, well, thank you for listening to The Hysteria Continues, and we'll see you next time. So say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
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 It's your birthday, we're here to party and sing to you. It's from me. Hope you